Greetings to all fellow seniors and cultivators.
Welcome. A lot of us on our spiritual paths have probably encountered vows that sound, well, let's be honest, they sound kind of terrifying. Today, we're going to take that fear, pull it apart piece by piece, and turn it into something really powerful, an understanding that can actually guide and protect us. First, we'll look at a common vow that's the source of a lot of this fear. Then we'll dig into what heavenly punishment really means. We'll reframe vows as a form of protection, and then we'll finish up with how to cultivate a clear conscience. So let's get started.
Okay, so let's start right at the source of all this anxiety. It often comes from the promises we make both to ourselves and the Tao.
I'm willing to bet a lot of you have. It's a really common, really powerful image, isn't it? It gets used in vows all the time to show just how serious the commitment is. But, as we're about to see, taking that phrase literally can cause a whole lot of unnecessary fear.
Now, check this out. The original phrase is 天谴雷诛. When you translate it, you get something like heavenly punishment and thunderous execution. Whoa. It sounds incredibly severe, doesn't it? But here's the million-dollar question. Is that meant to be taken literally? The source material we're looking at today suggests the answer is a big, fat no. This isn't about an actual bolt of lightning from the sky. It's a deep, deep metaphor for something that happens inside of us. So, if it's not some literal punishment coming down from the heavens, then what is it? In this next part, we're going to decode what heavenly punishment truly is. This is where we make the big shift from that external, literal fear to a really profound internal understanding.
This right here, this sums up the whole shift perfectly. We're moving away from the idea of a physical lightning strike and towards something way more relevant to our day-to-day cultivation, the internal consequences of our own thoughts and actions. See, the punishment isn't from the outside. It's the natural fallout of going against our own conscience.
So, how does this internal judgment actually feel? The source text is brilliant here. It breaks it all down into 5 types of metaphorical thunder. Let's start with the first one, heavenly thunder. You know that hot, burning feeling of shame that rushes to your face when you know you've messed up? That's it. That's a judgment, but it's a judgment coming from your own heart.
And next up, we have earthly thunder. Have you ever felt just stuck? Like you literally can't bring yourself to move forward with a plan because deep down you know it's not the right thing to do? That hesitation, that feeling of being blocked, that's earthly thunder. It's your own moral compass stopping you dead in your tracks.
Then there's yang thunder. Now this one is super physical. It's the alarm bells going off inside, your heart pounding out of your chest, that surge of adrenaline when you realize you've crossed a line you shouldn't have. It's that immediate gut punch feeling of, oh no, I've made a huge mistake.
And how about yin thunder? This is the quiet torture. It's the anxiety that keeps you staring at the ceiling at night, that restless energy you just can't shake when you've been plotting in secret or holding on to bad intentions. It's the total loss of your own inner peace, and it's completely self-inflicted.
And finally, there's law thunder. This is when your mental clarity just falls apart. When your mind is swimming in unrighteous thoughts, it leads to confusion, to mental chaos, even to disturbing dreams. Your mind just can't find any peace or order.
So, you see what's happening here? When you put all 5 of these thunders together, the shame, the hesitation, the fear, the anxiety, and the mental chaos, it becomes crystal clear. The so-called heavenly punishment is really the powerful, unavoidable judgment of our own conscience. It's not an external force at all. It's an internal reality.
Okay, so with this new understanding, let's go back and look at those scary-sounding vows again. Are they really supposed to be curses hanging over our heads? Or could they actually be serving a much more positive purpose?
It's a totally fair question, right? If the consequences are so bad, even if they're internal, it can really feel like they're just tools of fear. But the source material gives us this beautiful and much more empowering way to look at it.
In this analogy just nails it. Think of your spiritual journey like a train. Your vow, it isn't a threat, it's the track itself. It gives you the structure, the direction, and the safety for your whole journey. As long as the train, your cultivation, stays on the tracks of your vow, you're moving forward safely and smoothly. The punishment isn't somebody punishing the train. It's just the natural, inevitable disaster that happens when a train goes off the rails.
So here's the bottom line. Vows are like protective guardrails. They literally define the safe path for us. By committing to them, we're actually choosing to protect ourselves from all that chaos, shame, and fear
that comes from going off course. It's really an act of self-care, not self-punishment.
This all brings us to a really practical and empowering place. If the real punishment is just a troubled conscience, then the way to live without fear is pretty simple. We have to cultivate a clear one.
And this is exactly how we do it. We cultivate with real sincerity. We act from a place of a clear conscience. We learn to respect that inner moral compass. And we understand that cause and effect are just natural laws, not some kind of divine payback. The moment we start to see our vows as a cherished guide, like a map for our journey, the fear of thunderous execution just dissolves.
And what's the end result of all this? This beautiful quote from the source tells us everything. When we learn to respect that inner heavenly thunder, that voice of our conscience, it stops being a punishment. Instead, it becomes the very key that opens the gate to our true nature, leading us to a state of deep, lasting peace. So I'll leave you with this to think about. In your own practice, in your own life, what does it truly feel like to act with a clear conscience? And how can you use that feeling as your truest, most reliable guide? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this today. If you found this explainer helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Gratitude for the grace of heaven and the virtues of the teachers. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.